I'm going to try to address the question, which is one we see often, which is why didn't Lewis Hamilton take action himself to overturn the fraud of Abu Dhabi 2021? Now, those reasons will be personal to Lewis Hamilton. I don't know them. I don't know what his personal reasons are. But what I will try and explain to people through this presentation is the dynamics that would have faced him should he have tried to do that. Now, often what is presented is, why didn't he go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport? The Court of Arbitration for Sport, CAS, has no authority. Okay, what it essentially is a place for mediation. And for mediation to take place, both parties have to agree to engage in trying to resolve a dispute, and they have to accept the authority of the Court of Arbitration for Sport. They both have to say, okay, we will allow you to stage this negotiation and we will both comply with your rulings at the end of this. The FIA aren't going to do that. The FIA have presented themselves, okay, as being, we are the government, we are the law, we'll do what we want to do, right? That is effectively what the FIA have set themselves up as. So with regard to motorsport, they feel that nobody is able to hold them and their decisions to account. The reality is, if they've committed crimes, then they are accountable if they've breached laws, okay? Criminal laws, which they have. Fraud is a crime, and that is what they're guilty of. Although to be convicted of a crime, there should be effectively a police investigation. When police don't investigate them, then effectively you've then got to do a civil prosecution, a civil investigation that you then hope, so in the UK we've got the Crown Prosecution Service, to then take that civil investigation, turn it into a criminal investigation and do it that way. But there's that much corruption going on that it's not happening that way, and it's because of financial interests. I'm not going to go into too much detail in that at the moment, but that is part of the problem. So the FIA aren't going to engage with the Court of Arbitration for Sport. The only way you're going to hold the FIA to account is through a criminal investigation for their fraud, okay, and through criminal charges for their fraud. And Lewis Hamilton can't really do that. Now, let me explain it this way as well, because it's although people believe Lewis Hamilton to be powerful, he has an online following of, say, whatever it is, 30 million Instagram followers. You can find out however many that is. It might be more. Ultimately, that doesn't mean a lot. Okay, just because people follow you doesn't mean people do anything. People might be supportive of you, but if something's happening to you, they'll just go, oh, that's not very nice, is it? And they carry on with their lives. They're not going to all get behind him and physically support him and all stand and fight with him, are they? No, they're not. They're just going to go, oh, I like Lewis Hamilton. Oh, that's happening to Lewis Hamilton. That's not very nice. Just like we've seen ever since Abu Dhabi 2021, a lot of people have pledged that this is outrageous. That should never have happened to a man who's actually done anything. None of them, really. None of them. So actually, where is the power? Where is the power to change something? Yes, he's popular, but ultimately that doesn't mean a lot. So he's on his own, really, isn't he? Until he pays a team of arguers to make an argument for him. And lawyers don't care, right? Because there'll be another team of people that will accept money because they're being paid to construct an argument against him. That's the way our bullshit legal system works, whereby to determine justice, you construct an argument, somebody pays somebody else for them to construct an argument, a court plays out the facade in this grand building of grandeur with these actors, the barristers that are claimed experts of the law. That is carried out over a period of time. We are fed with information that is all so complicated. It's all very complex. You wouldn't be able to understand. It's only the experts that can understand this. And what they do, it's an industry for them. They look at the situation and they look at the individual that's got the problem, and they work out how much they can milk the situation for. And the judge, okay, is supposed to be the person who determines the difference between right and wrong within the context of a given situation. What the judge is somebody who is not qualified to judge. He's just somebody that's also been a lawyer, also being one of these people that will take money to create an argument for somebody. It doesn't matter which side he's arguing for or against, it's whoever's paying him. He'll construct the argument. Again, that's not justice. This is the construct of our so-called justice system, the facade, okay? And all it is to manipulate outcomes. That is what it is for. And so the judge, knowing what the crack is with the entire legal system, they just facilitate it. They know that, oh, what we've got is Lewis Hamilton. Oh, he's worth however many million. What's he worth? 300 million? 400 million? Half a billion? Yeah, some lawyer's going to get a lot of money in legal fees out of Lewis Hamilton. What, he's going to make Lewis Hamilton have to pay 40 million in legal fees? Or legally, they can claim their 40 million, but we can claim that back from whoever loses in the trial. But whoever loses, well, they've both got loads and loads of money, so some lawyer is going to make 40 million pounds out of this. Woohoo! Cha-ching! So what the judge does, rather than simply say, well, there's a clear right and there's a clear wrong in this situation, they oversee the facade. They direct the proceedings. And they make it go on for 2 or 3 years to pretend that it's all so complicated, and it's all very complex, and this is why the legal teams are worth so much money, because it's so complex. And then we'll get a manipulated outcome. That's what happens. It's all a lie. Now, who are these judges? They're ultimately tools. They're tools of the empire. Now, when I say things like the empire, the establishment, people will say the deep state, oh, it's conspiracy theory, all this bullshit, right? That's essentially what they are. They're fixers. Because in life, there are laws, there are rules, and they're very, very simple. And yet, when we get to legal, we get projected that it's difficult to understand. Everything that I've told you about Abu Dhabi, it's very clear what's happened. Very, very clear. And yet there'll be people that will argue on behalf of the perpetrators to try and absolve them of consequence for their crime. And rather a judge simply see through all that, because it's clear what's happened. It's clear that they've not rectified it themselves. It's clear that it's corruption. It's clear that they're making money out of their fraud. And that the judge will pretend it's all complicated. And why? Oh, it's because there's financial interests involved. And who is the judge protecting? Oh, the financial interests. A tool of the establishment. Who's got the financial interests? Oh, the establishment. Oh, the empire. Now, let me explain this. And again, this isn't going to be the best explanation. There'll be people far more capable than I am at this. I'm just going to try and give people a simplistic view of what's really happening in the world. And I'm going to do it through the notion that hopefully many of you will be familiar with. Now, there's a guy that is supposedly a friend of Lewis Hamilton. This guy, George Lucas, the guy famous for creating Star Wars. All right. Star Wars is something that many will be familiar with, will have grown up with. And essentially, what Lewis Hamilton is, despite him being a global icon, essentially all Lewis Hamilton is one of these. He's a pod racing pilot. Now, the Empire puts on the chariot races and the pod racing races to entertain the masses, give them bread and circuses. All right? And Lewis Hamilton is effectively is this guy. That's effectively all he is. And it would mean him going up against the evil empire. Now we've got like Donald Trump here in his black outfit there, all powerful, to make America great again. And then we've got the big financial controlling influences, those that began the world banking system, the Federal Reserve, the privately owned machine that prints money. So whenever a country is in need of money, what it does, it goes to this group of private individuals called the Federal Reserve, and what they do, they magic up some money for everybody. They go, oh, right, okay, we'll tell you that we've now lent you $1 trillion. Now, where's that money come from? Oh, the Federal Reserve have just made it up on a balance sheet. But now you owe us $1 trillion plus interest, and now you're in debt to us. America, well, we'll call it America. It's not. It's the Federal Reserve owned by some private individuals, right? Oh, that's strange, isn't it? And what they do, they've got around them their billionaires. They've got all their billionaires that are all doing rather well out of it, and they've got all their structure of control. They've got their armies, their navies, their air forces. They've got all the companies that create all of the machines of that war for enforcing. Because if you don't pay them that back, there's a consequence. Just like when you go to a loan shark or a gangster to borrow some money from them, if you don't pay them back, they will fuck you up, right? Yeah, that's the way it works. So, because we live in the civilized free world of Western democracy, it's not about gangster control of the world. No, no, no. No, this is all official. This is America. Fuck yeah. This is the empire. We are delivering freedom, Western values to the entire world. So, this is essentially what Lewis Hamilton would be going up against. You know, this is an example of the type of things that they have at their disposal. They've got their government officials to keep the populations in order, and then they've got their mechanisms such as their police forces and their armies to protect everybody. It's all there for your protection. And then obviously we've got the I think these are the SpaceX rockets there that you can see in the picture. You get the picture. Anyway, and like I say, when we've got the policing there that's there for your protection to enforce the will of the empire, this is again the structure of the kind of things that ultimately is the way our world is structured. Now, there's something going on in the world at the moment that is a threat to Western democracy, and I'll start this from the beginning. So let me just do
Europe
this.
is being.
Well, it's obvious. Venezuela has the world's largest reserves of oil. We're trying to steal them, pure and simple. It's not even complicated. This has nothing to do with narcotics trafficking at all. This is an insult to our intelligence to watch this smirking gangster discuss this way. He's the one, by the way, Lindsey Graham's the one who says, oh, we got to fight in Ukraine because they have $10 trillion of minerals.
You've got something that the empire wants. The empire sees it of value. The empire needs control of it. What do they want to do? They'll tell the world using their mind conditioning machine, their media. The empire's media tells everybody, look, everybody, these are a threat to our system of values. These are a threat to Western democracy. These people could be terrorists. These people could be a threat to your way of life. And we need to protect you from that threat, just like they protected us from the threat of the weapons of mass destruction that they're still looking for in Iraq. What they didn't find was the weapons of mass destruction. What they did find was a shitload of oil. Who'd have thought? In Ukraine, they're looking to do a negotiation. No, they're not. They're looking to strong arm Ukraine into doing a deal so that the empire gets to take the resources of the Ukraine. Yeah, we'll protect you if you pay us the protection racket money. That's the way it works.
He's just a simple gangster who works in an organized crime mob called the U.S. government. And the smirk on his face, lady, you don't think we can murder the people we want to murder? Are you so naive? Do I have to sit for an interview on Face the Nation and explain to you we can murder whoever we want? And we can give any explanation that we want? We can say they're narcotics traffickers. By the way, when Obama put on these orders and when Trump followed up on these orders in 2015 and in 2019, it had nothing to do with narcotics trafficking. That's just the excuse of the day. They've been trying to bring down this government for more than 20 years. Well, it's obvious. Venezuela.
That's one example of something that is likely to happen pretty soon because from reports America's parked a lot of its navy in the seas around Venezuela. Well, that's not right. That's not right. That's going to be effectively either an invasion or the theft of a country's resources. For whose benefit? Well, ultimately, who will benefit? It won't be, firstly, it's theft. But who owns all the oil companies, which will then seize the rights? Oh, well, that's Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street. They own all the oil companies, don't they? Yeah, that's what they own. We'll move on to the next one. And
This was perhaps. Europe is being destroyed.
This new US foreign policy is not just abandoning Europe, it's targeting Europe. Specifically, it's a declaration of economic warfare against European citizens, more so than the government.
It's about money. Yeah, money, control.
For instance, when they say that they want Europe to increase military spending to pay for their own defense, they actually mean they want European taxpayers to give more money to American corporate weapons manufacturers. And they're not making any plans to...
And who owns those American corporate weapons manufacturers? Oh, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. Oh, they're the big banker boys, aren't they? Oh, are they the people that also have ties with the Federal Reserve? Those people that magic up the American dollar money to lend to us all, that we're all in debt to the empire for. Yeah.
To pass those savings on to their own taxpayers by decreasing their own military budget. In fact, they're significant.
And Vanguard, State Street, BlackRock, they also own all of the mind conditioning machines, the media. And one of those mind conditioning machines, the media, puts on the bread and circuses for us, doesn't it? That owns Formula One. Yeah. Liberty Media.
Increasing their own military budget as well. This is a policy of maximizing the overall amount of taxpayer money being funneled into the pockets of corporate weapons manufacturing war profiteers, which shouldn't really come as a surprise to anybody. Maximizing profits for war profiteers has kind of been one of the major priorities in US politics for the last several decades now. He also said that the United States was no longer going to prop up the world like at...
That one seems to have paused on me at the moment. Hopefully it will catch up. But this is the sad reality of what we're living in. Why are we getting presented with on the news that is the threat of World War III? Who have we got to fight with? Who do we want to go to war with? I don't have a problem with any other country in the world. I'm not a threat to their way of life. I don't see them as being a threat to my way of life. What is the fight over? Okay, the fight would be over what? Control of what? Economic control. The control over who can become wealthy, who can live their best life. Oh, well, we're going to fight over these resources, these things that we can make money out of. But the people that will make the money, they're not going to be doing the fighting. What they're going to be doing is putting your kids to the slaughter. What they're going to be doing is making it that your child has to fight in your country's armed forces when World War III breaks out, that they've designed because they want to take something, and the person that's got it says, you're not having it. So it's now a world war, and your child has to die in that. America, fuck yeah, come in today to save the motherfucking day.
Which really makes it seem like Donald Trump had a lot to do with writing this policy. Because, you know, he really seems like the kind of guy who has a thorough, comprehensive knowledge of...
So Donald Trump is just the chosen one of the super wealthy, these controlling arms of the financial system that are just the empire. And Donald Trump is the face of them. They put in place somebody there to be the face of it. They're not going to do it themselves, and they're not going to come out of the shadows.
Greek mythology. Anyway, the notion that the United States is somehow propping up the rest of the world is very obviously the opposite of what is actually true. Which is to say, the United States economy is very clearly being propped up by the rest of the world. Geopolitics is a ruthless game for monsters. You become the biggest, most powerful economy by taking, not by giving away. The US economy is a consumer economy that cannot afford to produce for itself and does not have sufficient resources to provide for itself, and therefore is completely dependent on cheap resources and labor from the developing world. So poverty in the developing world is quite literally propping up the US economy and making it function.
So, in order for everybody in America, and this is not true, is it? Because everybody in America is not living their best life. But in order for those billionaires and the super wealthy in America to live with that level of lifestyle and with that much wealth, how many people in this world are enslaved and have to live at the base of the pyramid? This pyramid that we live in, the ladder that we're all supposed to be allowed to move up if we do really well. You start at the bottom and you move. No, you don't. You're just a slave at the bottom, exploited. And you're exploited, and everything you do funnels up to make them wealthy and live an untouchable life. And they don't care about you. You're just the exploited one.
That is true about the European economy too, by the way, before anybody gets ahead of themselves. Now, since the US economy is by far the largest consumer per capita in the world and doesn't create anywhere close to enough value to keep up with its own consumption, the way they keep it alive is with an equally unsustainable, ever-increasing, exponentially growing debt. Now, for most countries, this would not work. See, if your government keeps borrowing money from its central bank, that will
Federal Reserve that just make up that, oh, this is now money. There's an extra trillion. Cha-ching! Well, where's that come from then? Oh, well, we've just made a few ones and zeros up on a balance sheet.
Increase the money supply, which will devalue the money supply, which will collapse the currency, which will decrease the buying power, which will decrease the consumption, which was the point in the first place. Now, the reason that doesn't happen to the US economy is because the rest of the world props up the value of the US dollar by trading with each other in US dollars. Everybody else trading in the US.
The empire dictates the rules of the world. This is what you'll all do because it's under our control.
US dollar perpetually increases demand for the US dollar, which increases the value of the US dollar enough for them to keep increasing the amount of US dollars without the value of the US dollar completely collapsing. Now, that value that's going into the US economy is value that's not going into our economies, right? Or is going out of our economies. So functionally, almost every country in the world is paying the United States a little taste every time they trade with each other. It's like we're paying them a tax. We're paying America for permission to trade with each other. And that is why the US military budget is actually as big as it is. They're not protecting their allies. They're protecting their own investment. The governments that try to not pay tribute to the US economy have a nasty tendency to end up either sanctioned, destabilized, having their governments toppled, or just straight up getting invaded. Here's a
So, massive increase in so-called defence spending. Who are we defending against? Who's looking to take over and invade the rest of the world? Who's doing that? You know, all these threats to Western democracy. Which country, right, is secretly building the world's largest army, the world's largest air force, the world's largest navy, right, ready to do this master plan where it's going to invade every country of the world and take us all over? Yeah, who's doing that we need to defend ourselves against? Don't see it happening. And it's not happening. The reason it's not happening because that's not how it is. It's just that you know, the likes of China, they can produce things cheaper than the rest of us, and so economically, they're a big threat because you can get your stuff cheaper from there. So why would you get it from anywhere else? Oh well, if that means that you've got to pay them for their stuff, which means if you were a manufacturing country, nobody's buying your stuff. You're not getting any income anymore. Oh, yeah, that's a problem. Oh, so we'll present China being the big threat to us. What? Because they've outperformed us and undercut us. Yeah, so that makes them a threat, does it? Yeah, that means that you just can't live how you want to live because you're not producing efficiently and you're trying to charge too much. Therefore, you're no longer competitive. Oh, so that means we've got to go to war. We've got to fight people now. No, just get better. Just get better.
Video of the United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio showing his outrage a few years ago when China and Brazil decided they were going to start trading with each other in their own currencies.
Brazil cut a trade deal with China. They're going to from now on do trade in their own currencies, get right around the dollar.
Now, China and Brazil are two major economies that are in a trade alliance with each other. Imagine how entitled these people are to believe that these two countries should not be allowed to make a trade agreement with each other in their own currency. They should have to go through the United States in order to do trade. Now, when I say the US economy, I do kind of just mean a handful of people, right?
Yes, just a handful of people. So while we say it's the American empire, that's the flag that they hide behind, it doesn't benefit the majority of the American people.
This is American billionaire wealth collectively versus the rest of the world. They have more billionaire wealth than the rest of the world combined. They also have a bigger stock market than the rest of the world combined.
So what they do, they entice you. If you have enough wealth, they'll say, give us some of your money. And what we'll do, we'll make sure we use your money. We've got control of your money and we'll make sure we give you as much back as a return on that investment. So not only if you give us 100 million, you'll get your 100 million back, but we'll give you another 50 million as well, if we can. Oh, that's called investment. Yes, and we're in control because we're the empire. And for those people that are benefiting from that, all good. Yeah, it's called investment. I can just give them all the money that I've amassed and just sit back and enjoy the return, keep rolling in. That's a great lifestyle. I've got enough money that I can give it to them and then live the rest of my life just sitting here having a monthly income by doing nothing at the expense of everybody else.
Which is what these people's wealth is made up of, which they disguise as economic growth, but it's not actually all that beneficial to the American people. Functionally, it's a system that creates fake wealth out of debt, which it uses to funnel real wealth, which is ownership from all over the world, into the hands of as few people as possible, all while convincing the people that are being stolen from that they're actually being protected and given some sort of massive favor.
Europe is...
So There's a couple more videos that I just want to go through. This one's. I'll go through this one first.
Miriam gave my campaign indirectly and directly $250 million. She was number one. When somebody can give you $250 million, I think that we should give her the opportunity to say hello. And Miriam, make it quick.
You know, if you give money to the empire, then the empire will carry out your wishes if it aligns with them. And you know, if it's not too much trouble, give the empire a bit of money, and the empire will, they'll do what you ask them to do.
Because $250 million is not what it used to be. Okay.
Oh, that's called inflation, but don't you worry, little heads. Yeah, inflation, the price of everything has to keep going up so that these American interests, they do all right out of it. They do all right out of it. Doesn't help you. Doesn't help you.
Now I met Alan Dershowitz, and he said the legal thing about 4 more years.
The legal thing. Oh, about 4 more years. 4 more years. They want to put Trump in as the head of the empire for another 4 years, even though that's not allowed. They want to change the law, change the rules.
And I said, Alan, I agree with you. So we can do it. And, yeah.
She said, think about it. I'll give you another $250 million.
I will give.
But her husband, Sheldon, was an amazing guy, and he'd come up to the office, and there was nobody more.
Here we are, buffering again. But it demonstrates that if you've got money, you can influence political decisions. If you've got money, you pay government and you control what the government do. And this is an example of what is supposed to be a body representing the interests of the American people, and what they're actually doing is representing the interests of those with money that give them the money and tell them what to do. That money, donations to Trump's campaign, gives them leverage over the decision making that Trump does. He has to give them a return on that investment, doesn't he? You're not just going to give money away unless there's some benefit that's coming back. That's the way it works with billionaires. They didn't become billionaires by giving shit away, all right? They became billionaires because they're greedy. So they're not giving it away. They see it as an investment. You put your money there, it results in policy changes, which means a return on that investment.
Sheldon, I think I spent more time with him and you, because you usually came up together, but he'd call and say, can I come over, please? I say, Sheldon, I'm president of the United States. It doesn't work that way anymore. It's like maybe tomorrow. How about tomorrow? No, please, just for a little while. And he'd always say 10 minutes. It turned out to be about an hour and a half, right? And what he did is he fought for Israel. That's all he really fought for. He just wanted to take care of Israel.
We're partway through an engine swap on this C-Type. Customers.
So, sorry about that. I just had to pause that. Obviously, it moved on to the next reel there. So that demonstrates, I'm hoping this is authentic footage. I'm not trying to do what the BBC do, which is present Donald Trump as saying something that he didn't say, like that, and him sue me for $5 billion. Just like Dr. Evil out of Austin Powers. Somebody that's got an evil intent to take over the world. You know what it is. Now, let me just do this one as well, because this one will also put a bit of perspective into it.
Let me give you some numbers so you understand the scale of what just happened. Last year, American defense contractors exported roughly $90 billion in weapons and systems to NATO countries. $90 billion. That's not total revenue. That's just exports to allies. And that number was growing. It was projected to reach $120 billion within 5 years. Those projections just became worthless because it's not just about current contracts.
Because we all need to buy new weapons so that we've got them there for when we all fight each other, aren't we? That's right, we all need to go and buy new weapons for when we all fight each other.
It's about future ones. It's about the next generation of fighters, the next generation of drones, the next generation of missile defense. All of that was supposed to be American technology sold to European buyers. Now it's European technology sold to European buyers, and the development costs, the research funding, the innovation cycles that American companies were counting on to stay ahead of China, that funding just got cut off. But here's what makes this even more significant. This isn't just about defense. It's about technology. Because modern defense systems aren't just weapons. They're AI systems. They're advanced materials. They're cyber capabilities. They're technologies that spill over into civilian sectors, into aerospace, into computing, into manufacturing. For 75 years, America's dominance in civilian technology was partially subsidized by defense spending. The reason Silicon Valley exists is because defense contracts funded the early research that became the internet, GPS, microprocessors. When you cut American companies out of European defense spending, you're not just cutting revenue. You're cutting the research ecosystem that keeps American technology ahead. And Europe knows this. That's why they structured the European Defense Union the way they did. They're not just building weapons. They're building a technology ecosystem that competes with America across every advanced sector. And they're doing it with a $2 trillion head start that Trump just handed them. Now, let's talk about what this means for the dollar, because this is where the long-term implications become genuinely concerning. For decades, the dollar's dominance in global finance was supported by three pillars: America's massive economy, America's control of global energy markets, and America's role as the security guarantor for the developed world. Trump just kicked out
the security guarantor. This is right. This is America being the security guarantor of the world. Yes, we'll guarantee your security.
the third pillar. Here's how it works. When countries depend on America for defense, they hold dollars because defense procurement happens in dollars. Because
racketeering, yeah, you got to pay us and we'll keep you protected. Keep paying us, we'll keep you protected. You don't pay us, oh, you're not going to be protected anymore. Who do we need protection from? Oh, us, because you're not paying us. Yeah, that.
Military aid happens in dollars because the entire architecture of security relationships was denominated in dollars. That created constant demand for the currency, which kept it strong, which kept American borrowing costs low, which allowed the United States to run massive deficits without consequence. But when Europe builds an independent defense structure, they don't need to hold as many dollars. They can procure in euros. They can finance in euros. Their partner countries can trade with them in euros or yen or won. And slowly, gradually, the structural demand for dollars that has underwritten American power since World War II starts to erode. We're not talking about the dollar collapsing next week. We're talking about a long-term shift in the architecture of global finance, the kind of shift that happens slowly then suddenly. And 50 years from now, historians...
A long-term shift in the structure of finance. It's also a long-term shift in something else. I'm going to get to that.
Might point to Trump's NATO withdrawal as the moment when the dollar's dominance began its inevitable decline. Now, I want to dig deeper into something that most analysts are completely missing. The partner countries that just joined the European Defense Union, Canada, Japan, South Korea, Australia, Norway, on the surface, these look like natural additions, democratic allies, advanced economies, established defense industries. But when you look closer, you see something more calculated, something that reveals just how strategically Europe approached this. Canada gives them access to rare earth minerals and advanced materials that were previously dominated by American suppliers. Japan brings semiconductor manufacturing and precision engineering that's essential for modern weapon systems. South Korea offers shipbuilding capacity and missile technology that rivals anything America produces. Australia provides critical minerals and geographic positioning in the Indo-Pacific. Norway brings Arctic expertise and energy resources. Each of these countries fills a specific gap in the supply chain. And notice what's missing. No countries that are economically dependent on China. no countries with authoritarian governments, no countries that would give America leverage to disrupt the alliance through economic pressure. Europe didn't just invite partners. They chose them specifically to minimize American influence over the alliance's future. And there's something else happening here that's even more significant. Each of these countries has been frustrated with American reliability in recent years. Canada has faced Trump's trade threats. Japan has questioned America's commitment to the Pacific. South Korea has worried about America's willingness to maintain troop presence. Australia has watched American foreign policy swing wildly between administrations.
And who is actually dictating that? Well, who is it dictating that is the billionaire class, the likes of Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, who are dictating world policy through the guise of America and essentially just trying to rape the planet of all its resources and all of its wealth for itself, unchecked. And they do so by presenting that, oh, we are Team America, we are the world police, we are the peacekeeping nation of the world. But anybody that's an economic threat to them, they wipe them out, they kill them. Yeah, that's the way it works, unfortunately. But the world is beginning to wake up to that a little bit more. The other countries are seeing the dominance and seeing the blatant exploitation by this regime, and therefore they're now beginning to challenge that.
These aren't countries that Europe had to convince. These are countries that were already looking for alternatives to American security guarantees. Trump didn't just create an opportunity for Europe. He created an opportunity for every American ally that's been nervous about our reliability. And Europe gave them all an off-ramp at the same time. Now, let's talk about the military bases, because this is where the immediate practical consequences start to hit home. The United States currently operates over 70 military installations across European NATO countries. Ramstein in Germany, Ivano in Italy, and Shirik in Turkey.
So the American Empire, we'll call it the American Empire, that's got it's got its military bases on every planet, you know, to make sure the population on every planet has got a military presence of the empire to keep you all in check. There you go, America, providing the security for everybody. All right, just like everybody that's a threat to us, that, you know, they do the same. They you know, like the Chinese army's got a base in every country around the world. No, they haven't. You know, just like all these other threats to Western democracy that are there imposing their will over us in each and every one of our countries. No, they're not doing that. In Britain, we're just America's little handbag dog. We sold ourselves. We were the British Empire. We were the country that went around the planet raping and pillaging and extracting the wealth from other countries and nations to prop up the wealthy class in the UK. But then when it came to wartime, these grifters that set up the Federal Reserve said, oh, well, we can finance some of this. And they sold their soul to them. And now we're in debt to the empire, the new empire.
RAF Lockheed in the UK. These aren't just symbolic presences. They're logistics hubs. They're forward operating bases. They're the infrastructure that allows America to project power into the Middle East, into Africa, into Central Asia. And every single one of them exists because of NATO agreements that just became void. Now, Europe hasn't announced anything yet about base closures, but you don't need an announcement to understand what's coming. When you build an independent defense structure, you don't need another country's military taking up your most strategic real estate. Give it 6 months, maybe a year. European governments are going to start raising questions about lease terms, about costs, about whether these bases serve European interests or just American ones. And when those questions start getting asked publicly, when domestic politicians in Germany or Italy start campaigning on why are we hosting foreign troops when we have our own defense union, the pressure to renegotiate becomes overwhelming. Best case scenario, America faces dramatically higher costs to maintain these bases. Worst case, we lose access entirely. And losing those bases doesn't just hurt American military capabilities, it devastates the local economies that have built up around them. Tens of thousands of American contractors, civilian employees, and service members stationed in Europe. Communities back home that depend on those overseas postings. Defense companies that maintain the equipment at those bases. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of jobs across the entire ecosystem.
You know, all these jobs, all of these companies, all these contracted companies, government contracts to these companies worth billions of dollars. Who owns those companies that are getting these government contracts for that projection of power for the American interest? Oh, well, them companies, they're also owned by Vanguard and BlackRock and State Street. Yeah, that's the way it works. It's the government that's doing that. The government that's taking taxpayers' money to project the power of the empire, and those that are actually making them do that are getting the money back for providing all of the companies to do all of them things.
Trump's withdrawal didn't just change military strategy. It put a massive chunk of the American defense economy at risk. But let me bring this back to something more immediate, because I know most of you are wondering what this means for your investments right now today in portfolios you actually manage. First, American...
Because this man, he's not concerned about the notion of warfare. He's not looking at it from saying, well, who's our enemy? Who are we actually at war with? Who wants to kill us? Who wants to blow our country up? No one really, okay? It's just a squabble over the valuable things in this world. And those psychopaths, you know, at the top of, you know, the Federal Reserve and BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street, they'll sacrifice all of your lives and my life and all your children's lives so that they get control over the things that they see as being of value, so that they have got all the resources that they want and they can buy their next super yacht. That's what it is.
And defense stocks are going to face sustained pressure, not a collapse.
Yeah, the stocks. Stocks. You know, and those of you, you know, that have given Vanguard and BlackRock and State Street your money, so that you know, you can now just sit back and let them give you back your profit each and every month, and you can live out your life in comfort just on the profits that they're making all of the time, that they're making up, you know, because they just like Jim Radcliffe from Ineos, you know, he was able to buy a third of the Mercedes team for £200 million, and a couple of years later, despite the Mercedes team going from a position when they'd won 8 consecutive world championships, dominated the sport. They've done nothing since. They've gone backwards. But in that time, somebody's valued the Mercedes Formula One team not at 600 million now, you know, because he got a third of it for 200 million. It's now 4.6 billion pounds. So Sir Jim's done well out of that. Somebody's magicked the figure up, and now he's worth so much more money. On the stock exchange, you know, these people that just magic up numbers. Oh, we've done really well. We'll pay ourselves some of that. Cha-ching! And I can go and buy my next three mansions and 3 super yachts and everything that I want to buy. My next few islands. Because I've now got the money, because I've made up that everything that I own's worth so much more now.
But a long-term repricing. These companies just lost access to one of their largest growth markets. Wall Street hasn't fully absorbed that yet. You're seeing some volatility, sure, but give it 6 months. When the earnings calls start acknowledging canceled contracts and revised revenue projections, when the guidance gets cut for fiscal 26 and beyond, you're going to see valuations adjust downward significantly. If you're overweight, Lockheed, Raytheon, Northrop, Boeing's defense division, now is the time to start rebalancing, not panic selling strategic reduction. Second,
It's all about the money, isn't it? It's all about the money. We'll have to have war because that keeps the money turning over for them.
European defense stocks just became legitimate long-term holds, and I mean Decadel long holds. Rheinmetall, Thales, before anyone else Systems, Leonardo, Saab. These companies are about to experience demand growth they haven't seen since the Cold War. $2 trillion doesn't get spent in a year.
The Cold War, that standoff for all that time. Is there going to be the next nuclear war? Oh, we've got to invest trillions in that, in giving them to these defense companies, because we're going to pretend that we're going to be at war with Russia. Yes, the Cold War.
It's spent over a decade, maybe longer. That's
because they've got a different living structure. They've got a different set of values. Communism as opposed to free market capitalism. The thing that is the best for us all, isn't it? Free market. Let us decide. Let the market decide what is worth what it's worth. That's not how it works, is it? What it means is, like Monopoly, if you start the game of Monopoly with all the money, and then what you do, you buy everything on the Monopoly board. Every other player, everything that they land on, they've got to pay you money. But if you do well, you might be able to become them one day. No, you won't, because you spend your life just paying them the money on everything you do. That's the way Monopoly works. When you play to its ultimate iteration, one person ends up with everything and the rest of you end up with nothing. And that's how they want it to be. That's how they want it to be.
Sustained revenue growth with government-backed contracts. That's exactly the kind of visibility that value investors pay premiums for. And right now, before Wall Street fully reprices these opportunities.
But you, the investor, give the monopoly player your money and you'll be in with a cut of what it is that they own and they're getting constantly paid for, that they're exploiting everybody for.
You can still get in at reasonable valuations. Third, watch the euro. I've been tracking currency markets for more than 50 years, and I can tell you that what we're about to see is a structural shift in demand. When you build a $2 trillion defense ecosystem denominated in euros, you create persistent demand for the currency. When partner countries start holding more euro reserves to participate in that ecosystem, demand increases further. When procurement contracts get signed in euros instead of dollars, the shift accelerates. The euro has been undervalued relative to economic fundamentals for years, partly because markets assumed European security would always depend on America. That assumption just died.
All right, here's how it's looking. Pretty sick. We kind of just brought it in.
So, sorry about that. Went on for a bit. Essentially, the reason that the different countries, the different regions are having to build up their arms is because it's when you are at war with the mob, you have to be able to fight back, don't you? If the empire is going to dominate you, you have to show a strength of an amount of strength to be able to resist their domination. And then you've got a standoff of, oh well, yeah, you want to threaten us by doing that to us. Well, we're capable of doing the same to you. So who's going to make the first move? And that's what it then becomes, for a power struggle, for dominance. And who wants that? Who ultimately wants that? Do normal people want to dominate the rest of the planet? No, we don't. Who does? Well, it's the psychopaths, isn't it? It's the psychopaths at the top that want to dominate so that they have control over everything and they reap the benefits of everything. Now, I'm going to go back to this one. There won't be that many of you that are still with me. But I'm going to start it from the beginning. And maybe this will also help you understand a key element of Abu Dhabi 2021. What I'm saying to you is, had Lewis Hamilton have attempted to expose the show of Formula One for being corrupt, it would have harmed the value of Formula One. Now, who owns Formula One? Well, that would be Liberty Media, a media arm of the empire, a media arm owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. Yeah, yeah. They also own the oil companies. Yeah. They also own the weapons manufacturers. Yeah. They also own the American government that dictates foreign policy. Yeah. 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 They've got their assassins, haven't they? Oh, we call them the CIA, the intelligence agency. Yeah, that kill the threats. Yeah. So there's all sorts of things like that that go on. And if Lewis Hamilton had have gone up against the sport, then it would have caused a devaluation of that sport when people realised that we were watching a complete contrivance, a complete fraud. Now, probably out of love for the sport, Lewis Hamilton didn't want to see that happen anyway, but also it's extremely dangerous. Anybody trying to do this puts themselves in harm's way. Funny that, isn't it? Funny that the person trying to expose the crime is actually going to end up putting themselves in harm's way. But somebody's got to do it. That's how it works. And so what do? They start by discrediting you. They start by alleging that you're a criminal. Yeah, they've probably got footage on certain people that they try to use as a blackmail tool. If you don't stop what you're doing, we are going to expose you to the world because we've got some leverage on you. That's one of the techniques that they use. But one way or another, they'll silence you. They own the courts. Okay, they own the justice system, the system of manipulation. So regardless of whether you're right or wrong, legally, you might not be found to be right or wrong because that's just a manipulation. But they get you to accept it. They get you to question it. They disorientate your value system. They move the Overton window of what things are acceptable and what aren't. So this is a very good explanation of something that I'm just going to do this with and start it off from the beginning.
Most of us don't realize the destructive power of vagueness. Order is built on predictability. Let's look at the red line. Red lines define the thresholds of acceptable conduct. Different societies lay their red lines in different places. It's why Singapore will punish you very harshly for drug offenses that the Netherlands might not even prosecute. But what if you move the red lines? Let's look at an example. One of the empire's red lines is do not steal. Theft is incompatible with a high-trust society. Though you will be surprised how far you can move this red line. Ask a reasonable question. Stealing is bad, but what if you steal because you're starving? Can we really treat a father who stole to feed his hungry family the same as a greedy robber? Appeal to empathy. Make morality conditional. Then you can...
Max did nothing wrong. Red Bull did nothing wrong. You can't do anything to them. He absolutely deserved it. Appeal to your empathy. Max Verstappen, the victim, once again, Israel Verstappen.
Now move the red line, even if just an inch, from do not steal to do not steal unless you're starving and it's bread. Once the red line becomes...
Israel has a right to defend itself. Israel is the victim, which is why it's got to slaughter 80,000 people.
Becomes circumstantial, you can argue that thieves don't steal for the fun of it. They steal because they have no other choice. The father who stole to feed his family is no longer just a perpetrator, he's a victim of a broken system. Consequently, simply going after thieves does little more than treat the symptoms of an underlying disease, and it's better to focus on the cause instead, which is inequality. By moralizing the motivations of thieves, you imply that their very prosecution might be immoral. You've declared some theft as acceptable, and so crime inevitably rises. But hunting down all those thieves costs money, taxpayer money.
Oh, and that's bad for the economy. Who's going to fund that? Oh, the billionaires don't want to fund that. It's all about extracting what they can for them. It's not about meeting the costs of a functioning society. No, it's about exploiting society to extract as much money from society as possible through those elected to actually make the management decisions for the society, being bribed by the billionaires to outsource all of the services, and all of the tax collected money then being pushed in the direction of these billionaires so that it gives them the money to run the services that we depend on. And then they start charging us as much as they can to extract as much as they can economically. Oh, they do rather well out of it, don't they? And we don't.
And resources which are needed to go after actual criminals. Is it really worth jailing a thief who stole $1,000 worth?
Oh, we shouldn't be punishing crime, should we, anybody? Oh, that's what the billionaires want you to believe. It's not worth doing that. Because then you've got the perception that, oh, what the billionaires are doing isn't crime either. They condition your mind. They divert your attention. They appeal to how you feel. But you don't know how you feel because you don't understand what's really going on.
If doing so costs tens of thousands of dollars a year, shouldn't you prioritize those who pose a real danger to society? Not to mention the risk of prison overcrowding. More often than not, one who walks into jail a pickpocket comes out a hardened criminal. And who wants that? The red line moves again, from do not steal unless you're hungry and it's bread, to there are bigger problems than theft. You've made thieves into victims, theft judicially irrelevant, and the prosecution of small-time offenses morally reprehensible. The cityscape changes. Stores lock up products behind glass. Some board up the windows, others can't absorb the losses and close down. Trust in each other and trust in law enforcement is largely eroded. The empire cultivates mercy to the guilty at the expense of the innocent. Red lines serve a purpose. Once you take away the ability to define rules and morals, you take away the ability to enforce order. And without order, it's only a matter of time until your society collapses.
But those at the top, they benefit either way. They don't want a functioning society which holds them accountable. They profit from the chaos. Either way, when they own everything, they can manipulate everything. They funded both sides in the Second World War. Why was that? Ultimately, this is the problem, is that we've all been lied to. All right? I'm not a conspiracy theorist, just do your research. We've all been lied to. What we got presented with at Abu Dhabi 2021 was a fraudulent contrivance designed to make the billionaires billions, and it worked. Now, to try to hold them to account for it when they own the system, well, it's going to be a struggle. They don't have any integrity. They're not going to hold themselves to account. That's evident. So how do you do it? You have to do it through the system that's supposed to be able to deal with criminality. But if they own the system that deals with criminality, well, that's not going to do it either. We've got the UK Serious Fraud Office. They refuse to investigate it because they're more concerned about the economic interests. Whose economic interests? Oh, well, the country's economic interests. Not really. In the UK, the sport or the show of Formula One employs probably in excess of 7,000 people, generates however many billions for the UK economy. Right, so we say that. For which individuals, for which investors have they put some of their millions and are now sitting there getting millions back out of it? Oh, we're needing to sorry, I just had to pause it there and I lost my thread. Can't even remember what I was saying. But essentially, Abu Dhabi 2021, the billionaire owners, Liberty Media, own the billionaire company Formula One, essentially control the government, the FIA. okay, who are getting money from Formula One. Their biggest proportion of their income comes from the billionaire, right, company, from the billionaire industry of Formula One, funds the government, the governing body of the show, right? So, who's got leverage over who? Who can make the government make certain policy decisions, even if it is in breach of laws? Well, that's the billionaires, isn't it? Who else benefits? Well, the billionaire participants in the show. Those teams, those team owners, they're all billionaires as well. What happens to their billions if they can attract more people to watch the circus? Well, their billions increase. So, what we do, we perpetrate a crime, we defraud everybody. We won't tell you it's a fraud, everybody. We'll use the mind conditioning machines owned by the billionaires, right? Yeah, we'll use them to tell you it's just confusing. It's just, oh, it's only live once. So somebody's under pressure here. Nobody really knows what's happening. What will happen now? Oh, it was so exciting, wasn't it? And now we're all worth even more billions because everybody was excited and will come back and watch it again. And there's nothing you can do about it, but you're enjoying it. And if you try and do anything about it, well, we own the courts as well, and they're not going to hold us to account for it. But it's okay, everybody, because we've conditioned you to accept that. And that not only have we conditioned you to accept it, we've conditioned you that, oh, there's no consequence for that. We can do it and we can get away with it. There's nothing that you can do to us. You're nothing. We've conditioned you to understand that that's the way it is. You're powerless. We've conditioned you to believe, oh, yeah, maybe it's not something we should be outraged about. Maybe, maybe the other guy, he did nothing wrong, so we should have empathy for him. We should allow him to keep what he got by us fixing it for him to have it, because he didn't do anything wrong. If anything, he was the victim of the situation, wasn't he? He was Israel Verstappen. He's the victim. And they shift your morality. They shift the Overton window of what is acceptable and what isn't. And then, as they continually do that, they create a vacuum. And then they fill that vacuum. And as popular war advances, go and have a listen to Civil War by Guns N' Roses and just read the lyrics. It's the blueprint. Anyway, I realise that this is a bit abstract. I realise it's gone on for a while. But this is far bigger than Formula One. Far bigger than Formula One. It's about control. It's about empires. It's about the system that we live in. And it's about that we're supposed to live under laws. And we're supposed to have systems that hold everybody to account to those laws. And it doesn't happen. And it's about time that the people of the world started demanding that it did, because most people in this world would be content living in peace. Most of us don't want to go and invade our neighbours and take what we acknowledge to be theirs. Most of us would be content just living a life which enabled each and every one of us to have a degree of freedom, contribute to the functioning of society, utilize the skills that we have to make a positive contribution to the functioning of what needs to take place in this world for the benefit of everyone, but not try and dominate others and not try and exploit others and profit at other people's expense. But the way that some want it to work is that they want everything. They want control over everything. They're greedy. And they condition everybody's minds that that's the way that You can live your best life by having the same mindset as them. That's how you become a winner as well. By fucking everybody else, as long as you're doing okay. The reality is, that puts you in a fight with everybody. The rat race. It's a dog eat dog world out there, isn't it, everybody? Yes, it's, losers come second sort of thing. You've got to be the winner. Don't just collaborate. Don't come together as communities. Don't have the desire to have a collective, a shared outcome, shared success. No, it's all about you rising to the top. Yes, the ethics of the billionaire, isn't it? That's the way that they sell it to you. That's the way that they mind condition you. Oh, and everything else is a threat to this way of life, this democratic way of life, everybody. And they'll divide on skin colour, on nationality, on ethnicity, on religion, and they'll tell you that everybody that's different is a threat to you and your way of life, and that they want to come and take what is yours, keep you fearful, helps their domination. They don't tell you that that's exactly what they're doing. But they control the narrative. They own everything, and they own the system that's supposedly there to make sure that they don't do that. Anyway, for those of you that have stuck with it this far, thank you for your time. The people that might be worth a follow, she's actually got a YouTube channel as well. Lena Seish is this one. Very, very good. This one, this guy here,
being
him, he is Pissed Magistus. Okay, that's quality. And what was this one? Igor Kroyan, I think was. So they're all on Instagram. What were these ones? That one? Ranked now. Don't know whether that's one that you can follow on there. And that's just an advert. Can't remember what was that. But yeah, drop them a follow if you so wish. But even if I'm getting some of this wrong, which it may well be, this is something that we all need to open our eyes up to. We need to start getting a greater understanding of the true dynamics of the world that we're living in. The notion that we are fed a narrative about what's really happening. Well, what's really going on? Who's really the threat? What's it all about? And what it's all about, it's a power struggle over the control of certain things in the world. Just like mafia wars, where mafia want the control over the turf, over the supply of narcotics, for example. Something that is making them huge sums of money to enable them to live the life of millionaires and billionaires, all right? The selling of illegal substances so that they can live the life of a billionaire in their local area, and they can expand over that and a bigger territory so they can make even more. Well, how do they protect their domination? Well, they do so through force, don't they? And control. That's mafia culture, isn't it? Well, now look what the American empire, the financial controlling interest, is actually doing. Who is really looking to take over the world? What would they be wanting to take the world over for? It's an ideology. Do they want to take the world over because the rest of us don't believe in their God? And that means that they're going to make an army so that it forces us all to believe in their God? Is that what it is? No, that's not what it is. It's all about the rich billionaires, the psychopaths, not caring about any single one of us, right? But wanting us to fight each other and see, so that they can ultimately seize control of the things that they're going to make billions and trillions out of. They don't care about us. We're disposable. We're disposable. Just like all the men and women that died when we, the West, went and freed Iraq from their tyranny, and obviously freed Libya from the tyranny of Gaddafi, who was providing for his people and a threat to the US dollar. So they killed him. Yeah, that's what they do. Anyway, thank you for your time.